Hi, everybody. Radical Gardener. Just warning you that Steve is on the attack. He's trying to get my attention while I'm making this video. Steve, remember when I got Steve a couple of years ago? I found him in a field. Hi, Stevie. He's doing pretty good. So today is Sunday. What's been going on politically, I think that most of us have a pretty good idea of how this is going to turn out. It's going to turn out in our favor, but it's a pretty interesting show to watch, and so many people were disappointed, depressed, disillusioned, all of those things, and they only had one thing to blame, and it was their expectations. And so when things don't go the way that you want them to, or you expect them to, or you're being told that they're going to, and then you're upset about it, it's your own fault. I mean, all anybody's ever really doing is guessing, and things change as they go along. But if you understand who and what we are and where we're at, as far as the timeline, we've got absolutely nothing to worry about. And so you can believe that or not believe it. I mean, it's up to you. But I've never doubted it for a minute that we are going to be living in a very special time. We already are. I mean, there's so much going on behind the scenes that when this transition does eventually happen, we will be introduced to so many amazing things, and a world that a lot of us have imagined, because remember, we're creating the timeline. We're creating all of these things that are going to be coming down the pike. We're creating that. That's not happening to us. It's happening because of us. I think that this is maybe the most important video that I've made, and I'm not being, bragging or being kind of pompous about it all. It's that I came across this writing, again, it's Barbara Hand Clow from her book, Awakening the Planetary Mind. What's really so cool about reading what I'm going to read to you is that when it was written, and it was written, I think her first time through, I mentioned this before, it was 2002, and then she revised the book, table shaking because Steve's scratching. Then she revised the book like in 2009, 10, 8, 9, 10. And then I believe it was published again in 2011. So if we assume, and this isn't even necessary for us to know that this is actually happening now, but if we look at that our calendar was screwed with, and that we are off by about 7 years, we're really sitting around 2012. Okay, so either it was last year, it's this year, but anyways, we're definitely in that zone where many calendars had predicted that we were shifting, and the words were used like timelines and dimensions and frequencies, right? So these aren't like made up words from now, woo-woo words that that New Age has made up. This is something that has been talked about for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. So I'm going to go ahead and read. He describes the period we've been in, and she's quoting someone, that Kushi, so an author. So she says, he describes the period we've been in for the last 10,000 years as a time of a wilderness coming to Earth, when we were heavily influenced by the constellation Draco, the dragon or the serpent of the biblical tradition, when we were expelled from the Garden of Eden. Now, all of these things that she's talking about, she clears up on what she thinks they actually were talking about, not so much in the biblical sense. Negative vibrations have been devouring us, and we've almost lost our way because our thinking has become more and more diluted. Now, as we come to the end of this time, we see the fruits of our destruction, and we want to change. That's right, we do. Then we've got that contingency that doesn't want to change. And that's where our battle's going on. We have people who are looking at their shadow, and believe me, our disappointment is our opportunity to look at our own shadow. This is nobody's fault. You've got to look at your own shadow. That's what this whole time period is about, is our inward journey. Stop looking out at everybody else. Get off social media. No one's going to tell you how to do this. Look at your own shadow. Why do you have expectations? Why are you listening to other people? Why aren't you listening to your inner voice? Now, as we come to the end of this time, we see the fruits of our destruction. We want to change. During this time of darkness, we consolidated our efforts by creating institutions just to survive. So this is when we're coming out of these cataclysms. And we also have become very solid and materialistic. Solid is a key word. The time has come to break down these patterns to become less dense, which will enable us to use the full powers of thought in the material world. And have you noticed, like when you drive up to a Publix or a grocery store or somewhere, have you noticed how dense everyone is? They all have their mask on. They have no oxygen because 50% of their oxygen is being, eliminated by, breathing through mask. And you see they're literally shuffling. They're becoming denser and denser and denser. And what we actually need to be is lighter, lighter, and lighter. And we need our breath. We need our oxygen. We need our air. So the previous chapter ends with a bold concept. Matter precipitates out of abstract form by our thoughts. More simply put, our ideas create the things that appear in our material world. Get it? We create it. Of course, there are many other orders of creation, such as minerals, plants, and animals. During the 8th Underworld, 1999 to 2011, which we just come out of, if we're looking at the calendar that's been corrected, we've become creatures who email each other and interact less and less in person, yet who wants this? Many religions seek an ultimate solution, but this fading desire is based on old systems used for 5,125 years that are collapsing. To foster this process, time speeds up as old ways of life just disappear. Amid this high velocity, these are key words, deep archetypal forces are activating within people that could become emotional whirlwinds that feed on negative thoughts. Such calamities can be avoided by processing our shadows or dark sides to avoid being caught in the vortexes of the collapsing old systems. Get it? Look at your shadow, look at your expectations, look at your reliance on anything other than your connection with God, and you're done for, right? And done for meaning you're not going to be a happy camper. The time acceleration hypothesis says we are approaching an evolutionary peak, not just an end of old ways. The most important theme in this book is that many people believe the world is soon coming to an end, yet they are probably wrong. And I've been saying that all along. That's why I said I stopped listening to so many channels, so many people. I don't do the prepper stuff anymore. I'm just done. I'm done with it. I'm living in the moment. Am I prepared? Yeah, but I am not going to go nuts over it. I'm sorry. So they pray for an apocalypse to escape the troubling images that fester in their minds, which could bring about the end for many people. However, it will not be the end of nature. That's right. I love how everybody thinks we're going to kill the planet. I got news for you. So most people are not aware that the shadows they struggle with come from inner confusion caused by the false story of the past. People feel guilty about something they can't even describe. These painful shadows were born during the horrific survival times following the chaotic earth changes. We must open the curtain on this period, since cataclysmic myths are always paired with stories of humans who disobeyed God and caused the great disaster in 9,500 BC. This idea of wrathful God and humanity's original sin is driving the human species straight toward the destruction. Who believes in a vengeful God? Why would anybody believe in that? Who believes in original sin? I mean, come on, knock it off. We are creatures of the light. We are creatures of the Christ consciousness. Okay, we must open the curtain on this period, since cataclysmic myths are always paired with stories of humans who disobeyed God and caused the great disaster in 9,500 BC. The idea of a wrathful God and humanity's original sin is driving the human species straight toward destruction. For instance, in Genesis 6:1-12, the sons of God came down and seduced the daughters of men. Giants were born from them, and evil came into the world. This caused God to send a great flood, Noah's flood, but Noah, his family, and the species survived. According to early sources of this story in the Bible, after the flood, humans wandered around earth in a daze among serpentine giants and great bird gods who taught humanity the arts of civilization. From this moment on, we've been cast as mixed beings of heaven and earth, the children of the fallen angels. These stories are the source of intensely shadowed and separated parts of our psyches that are all mixed up with cataclysmic memories. We are really being duped. Surely, we are more than fallen sinners who can never recover from the trauma lurking back in the mist of time. During the time of paradise before the cataclysm, Kushi describes the whole planet united in a time of peace, creativity, and harmony by the descending centripetal energy which formed the galaxy, the solar system, and this earth. Kushi said back in the 1970s that the time of paradise opens with the current, he stated this in the 70s, that the time of paradise opens with the current solstice alignments when Earth's axis points directly through the Milky Way, when we receive an enormous flow of galactic current. The massive stars in that plane shed their influence directly down through the central vertical north-south energy channel, both of the planet and also of humanity, as well as all other life forms on Earth. So not only is the human brain more active during this period, all botanical sources of our food are much more vigorous, requiring hardly any cultivation. The previous time of paradise Kushi describes may have lasted at least 30 million years, while the last 11,500 years have been a time of struggle with the serpent Draco writhing in the northern polar sky. So for years, 30 million years, everything was hunky-dory. So why aren't we remembering that? Kushi describes a vibrational world in which the creation of realities by thought requires the reception of energy throughout the whole body, not just thinking in the head. I started this chapter with our exciting future because the deeply suppressed material in this chapter will be horrific and shocking for many readers. We are conditioned to avoid unpleasant ideas that force us to face inner darkness, because if we face ourselves, nobody can control us. So as paradise comes again to earth, our bodies need fine-tuning to receive these subtle frequencies. Subtle glands that, this is good, you guys. Subtle glands that access very high frequencies, such as the hypothalamus and thymus, are activating now. And if we have massive emotional blocks, our physical bodies can't handle the secretions of these glands. The global recovery of archaic memories is causing a mind-bending spiritual crisis that is reaching its apotheosis due to time acceleration. It is so important to realize that time acceleration is causing old ways to end, not our planet. Of course, many people cling to the old ways. So you have half the population It's clinging to the old ways that won't look at their shadow. And then you have half the population who is looking at their shadow and bringing on the new reality. And we had Mr. Major Antihero, Trump, stomping along the way as we were in the wake. He was just one piece of what we needed to be there for us to focus on who and what we are, right? So that's why you go to talk to somebody, I've talked about this before, that they just spew the same thing out. Oh, this guy's a creep, that guy's a creep, he's did this, he did that, blah, 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 blah. And no matter what you say to them, he works for free, he's lowered the taxes, you can go through, the guy did like hundreds of things, and then you do that, and it's like, oh, no, he's evil, that. But they're so in their own shadow, they can't look past it. They can't look that there's really a way of living. We are not in fear anymore. So as people look deep within and face their hidden violence and heartlessness, personal boundaries dissolve and connection with nature intensifies exponentially. People sense that their own inner anger and fear is related to the pain in the world. So they feel Rwanda, Bosnia, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, and Egypt, which opens their hearts. Remarkably, each time a person lets go of his or her need to be separate from the whole, deeply honest encounters with the self cause miracles to happen. Suddenly, disasters in politics, such as potentially terrible violence in Tahrir Square in Cairo, just don't happen. This is because nature reformulates her fields in resonance with the human heart when we intentionally align ourselves with others. Nature devolves into separation and chaos when evil people protect their lies and hatred into the collective mind. When they project, okay, so that's what's been going on. So they project the fear and we just eat it up. In the mundane world, it responds, regardless of this temporary mental lock, the divine is enfolded in the mundane world. It responds to love in our personal quest, birthing waves of grace in the material world. Miracles. Here we remember the unrecognized dreams, loves, and magical powers of the people lost in the cataclysm when our cosmic dream was shattered. We sing the forgotten songs of the ancient ones. Okay, so it's really interesting. I'm going to go on. This is going to be a long video. If you don't like it, turn it off. Okay, so I've never heard her I've read several of her books. She never talks about the elite or politics, and it's just, she talks about ancient cultures and consciousness. And okay, so listen to this. Remember when it was written? All right, the collective nightmare of the global elite. Boy, that's putting it mildly. All right, moving out of our personal realms, which we so carefully construct around ourselves to feel safe, prepping. We now explore the current group mentality where there's a collective madness building in the realm of emotions and archetypes. The truth is we live in a world that is controlled by covert elite groups that are strangling the human heart. Wow. These elite members come out of the old wealthy families who supply individuals for the important positions in politics, religion, medicine, banking, and business. This is not news, however. How they use their power is not well understood. They use the forbidden arts of the fallen angels, or creation by thought, astrology, natural healing, and alchemy, while simultaneously debunking these arts so no one else will be able to use these powers or be able to see what they are actually doing. For instance, the elite created a mass trauma event on September 11th, 2001, then labeled it 9/11 to hook people into the emergency code number 911. They often use number magic or sound coding in names such as Obama, when everybody is supposed to worry about Osama, to plant fear and confuse the people. Pretty tricky. These outside the elite cannot see that they do things like this because the elite wear suits and red ties while smiling benignly on television. Meanwhile, for the public, any contact with these arts is a total embarrassment, like hanging out a shingle advertising that one is a palm reader. Thus, ordinary people are robbed of the use of magical skills while the elite runs rampant using the manipulation of occult forces and their secret cabals. As Andrew Collins says, initiates and secret societies preserved, revered, even celebrated the forbidden knowledge that our most distant ancestors had gained their inspiration and wisdom, not from God or from the experiences in life, but from a forgotten race remembered by us today only as fallen angels, demons, devils, giants, and evil spirits. Okay, so I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody when I was on social media that said, oh, if you read cards, if you do this, if that, it's usually Christians, and I love Christians, that's the work of the devil. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Everything that I do is done in love. And if life isn't magical, I don't know what planet you're on, but they've been made to believe through the Bible, which has been, horribly rewritten by evil people, and that's what's dictated to them. And there's a lot of fear in the Bible. I've never seen more fear than I see from Christians. They're the first ones to flip, right? Oh, I hope so. Oh, I'll pray for that. You know what? Why don't you just know that that's how it's going to be? It's going to be good. It's going to be magical. It's going to be divinely inspired, right? Stop with the nonsense. Okay, so this program can be observed by watching the behavior of the elite over great spans of time. As we've already seen, the elite have continually stolen the knowledge of sacred cultures and either destroyed it on the spot or stored it for reference in hidden places, such as the Vatican Library, archaeological museums, the Smithsonian, and private collections. By using ancient calendars, totemic artifacts, bones, and divination systems, they've worked together in secret to control the world for thousands of years. To control the world, the elite need the forbidden arts. But why? Because when the planet is functional and healthy, people live in small bioregions and know how to use their forces to live in harmony with the land and maintain their freedom. They can't be controlled. By taking the sacred sites and magical powers from the people, the elite extend these forces throughout their own interlocked systems for control and personal gain. At this point, we live in an era when they plan to call in their chips, since they know the time of paradise is coming. Remember, the conquistadors with their priests stole the calendars of the Maya. In the book, From the Ashes of Angels, Andrew Collins tells the story of the angels in Christian, Hebrew, Iranian, and various Middle Eastern scriptures who interbred with the women of earth thousands of years ago. Okay, so I'm going to go here. When the Europeans colonized the Americas, the Inquisition had already stripped the forbidden arts from the common people of Europe. The conquerors of the Americas were trained to look for any traces of the forbidden knowledge, and then the priest swept in right behind the legions and destroyed or gathered it for future reference, and they built churches on the original sacred sites. Those who survived the genocide mostly forgot the real story of the ancient times. So in the 18th century, when archaeologists and geologists dug up mammoth and dinosaur bones, the public was consumed with curiosity. Sure, it's triggering something in our ancient memory about these amazing finds, which directly contradicted current science dictated by priests and holy men. Quickly, the elite set up university and museum systems to control and manage the finds. They were to be investigated by chosen archaeologists, curators, and professors who were instructed to select only certain parts of the data. The selected data was used to construct a mythology that supports the elite, social Darwinism, based on the premise that humanity is always evolving from primitive to more advanced levels, which blocks the recognition of ancient civilization. Elite science retards human memory recall, which is why the New Paradigm movement attacks social Darwinism. No wonder the stories of the fallen angels were covered up. The elite assumed the power of the angels themselves, a Faustian past of major proportion and consequence. But finally and unavoidably, the evidence for previously advanced cultures is flooding in, and our deepest memories are beginning to awaken. So I can't recommend this book enough. Is about forbidden archaeology. What a book. And it's a very scholarly book. It's a difficult read. I mean, it's not a fun read. And it's just, kind of rewriting the whole archaeological timeline. Take control. You'd be happier. So we're like watching kabuki theater right now. And, let it be what it is. This is a military operation that's going on, and it's a pretty darn good one. And you're never going to know what the next move is or how long it's going to take, or you're never going to know. We'll never know. It'll happen when it happens. I was married to a soldier. I was married to a guy in Special Forces. And that he didn't believe anybody on YouTube. He goes, yeah, my source says. Joe goes, that guy's full of crap. Joe would turn him off. He goes, sources don't tell anything. Not the people that know. He says they keep it to themselves. It would be very dangerous if people knew, So, I believed them. Now, there are, there's some people I have been listening to, and I'll tell you who I really like. I really like Charlie Ward, and I'll tell you why I like him. I like him because he's positive. And he holds firm. I like that he hasn't wavered. A new one that I've been listening to, I really, really like, is Scott McKay, and I think everybody's kind of discovering him too. Real positive guy, and he talks about a lot of the same stuff that I do. Another one that I really like, of course, is X22. The guy's solid. He's been solid for years. He's really, he never second guesses anything. He just kind of puts things out there. He's real clear about what is factual and what is, what he might think might happen. But, he's very clear about, what's factual. And the other channel that I love is Monkey Works, WERX, and that guy tracks, air travel, planes. Not thinking of the correct word. Anyways, he's former military and a former pilot. And he is one smart cookie. So check him out because, boy, he's got some really interesting observations because he watches where all these planes are going. So, that's it for me. And I'm not on social media. These links are links I go to sometimes. I've actually, through texting, I'm connected with about 8 people, and we just kind of share things between us. And the rule is that we're all really positive, and we stay really solid in our you know, the world that we want to create, and that's who I talk to. And the minute anyone starts to go negative, that's it, I'm done. It's there's enough of that out there, and I don't need it in my life, and I don't think it's going to be helpful for the world that we're trying to create. We are creating. So, anyways, that's it from me. Radical Gardener, from my garden to yours. I'm going out in the garden tomorrow, yes. So yeah, you know I'm sending a ton of love, don't ya? I sure am. Okay, see you later. Goodbye.